Alright, here's my first movie review, and it is for The Giver. First thing I have to say is that I am really excited to read the book. I want to go ahead and order it because pretty much universally the reviews said that the book is better. And well, guess what? That's no surprise. So, something known as the Ruin, or the equivalent to probably World War III, make people feel the necessity to establish these Orwellian utopias. Of course, they're not really utopias, otherwise we wouldn't be having a movie now, would we? There is no distinguishing differences between any individual, and that is heightened most emphatically by the black and white cinematography that is used within this whole area of sameness. This is like equilibrium on steroids. That's one thing I really did like with this movie, is the scope of it, and by showing it through black and white, how colorless and bland and lifeless this place has become. But obviously we have to have the catalyst, and the catalyst is, this case, Jonas, who is the all too typical character who, for some reason, for whatever, feels different in this whole place of sameness. Now, of course, he becomes the receiver of memories, which there is only one individual who has this job. Now, of course, there are two, because Jonas is the receiver in training. Jeff Bridges is the current receiver, and he is to train Jonas. The interactions between Jonas and Jeff Bridges' character are by far the most interesting within the movie, and it is very fascinating to see Jeff Bridges' character. He expresses this emotion because he's actually experienced, because he's the only one inside the wall of memory, or whatever it is that they call it, that actually has genuine feelings. And so it's interesting to see his character contrasted to all the other characters within this place, having to deal with all those emotions and really having no outlet for them, with the exception of Jonas. And Jeff Bridges is the only one that really sees this as a problem. He sees this place as it really is, not as a utopia, but as a dystopia, and how the removal of human emotion really, while it cancels out all these evil and wicked things, there's still murder going on. Or as one of the best lines in the movie goes, we still murdered, but they called it by a different name. And that really, in that one sentence, emphasizes the power of The Giver. It gives it its philosophical punch, and movies like this generally are critiqued harsher. We're not a very philosophical society, unfortunately, even though many of us claim to be. There are a few issues, mostly involving the baby Gabriel, that are pretty poignant. The love story between Jonas and Fiona really isn't that great or original. The acting by some of the younger actors isn't the best, but when you take all the flaws, and there are enough, I know I didn't go into great detail about it, but I wanted to discuss its strengths. When you take the incredibly powerful montages, when you take the one-liners, faith that was seeing beyond, memories are not about our past, they are about our future, they can change things, you can make things better. These really represent the power that The Giver has. Now, it's not a great movie, it's not a fantastic movie, but it brings up certain themes and questions that we still struggle with ourselves. We want to go, whenever we see bad situations happening, we want to go, man, if people just weren't so evil. We have this whole idea that if we were somehow to regulate human emotion and just keep everything in a nice little ball and contain that, everything would be fine. But you realize that once you get rid of human emotion, not only are you taking away the bad, but the good must go away with it. And we are left in this situation that The Giver represents. And I think it is very good questions that The Giver is asking. Now, the movie it felt rushed. It felt like there needed to be more time. It felt like it was one of those things where it's like, oh, 90 minutes, we can't go any farther than that. 90 minutes is about all the time we have. I understand, the generation that we live in, shorter attention spans. But you need to let the story be told. You need to have its natural flow. The tension really wasn't what it should have been. I felt that it should have felt more heightened, and probably a big part of that was because it didn't have time for things to develop, for the stakes to be risen even farther, for you to really get that invested in the story. I was just more interested in all the philosophical implications and the questions that the film was raising, which I really get into that. But not everyone is going to be super excited about philosophical questions and their implications. Like I said, this movie asks some really interesting questions, has kind of sorta answers, which is also another critique. Doesn't really give answers, kind of leaves people to, make up their own mind, which I can actually appreciate. I enjoy thinking movies. So for me, personally, I would rate this movie higher than probably your average person. But basically, how I would view The Giver is that it is a decent movie with a powerful message, and if you're willing to overlook its faults, you will appreciate the movie for what it is. Now, it's not going to win any awards, it's not going to blow anyone away, but it has thought-provoking messages and asks thoughtful questions that need to be asked in our day and age. If you like thinking movies, you will like this movie. Of course, if continuity errors and certain other things trip you up a bit too much, you probably won't like it a whole bunch. Also, if you don't like thinking about movies too much, you probably won't like it either. This is a movie that is not for everyone. But if you fit that niche, you will find The Giver to be quite enjoyable. So, those are my thoughts. What are yours? I'd love to hear your feedback. Did I miss something completely? Did I hit something head on? Go on ahead, comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the Outcast Writer signing off.